If you're a fan of the weird, strange and true stories like me, delivered in a story format, then you've come to the right place. I will be uploading a couple times a week. If that's of interest to you, please give the like button a click and subscribe to my channel and turn on all notifications so you won't miss any of my uploads. Let's get to today's story. The Werewolves of Palmyra, Maine. After a workplace injury, the Martin family needed to downsize their lives. Eric Martin had injured his back at work and was no longer able to work. So, he and his wife Shelley decided they needed a less expensive place to live. Shelley quit her job to take care of Eric at home. Shelley found a beautiful, older farmhouse in Palmyra, Maine that was just what they needed. It was surrounded by dense woods. She was originally from the area and wanted to move back home to her friends and family. Eric, Shelley, and Shelley's daughter Chelsea soon moved to the old farmhouse. Eric had always been a hunter and had a collection of guns. Shelley didn't like guns in the house around the kids. With the help of Eric's son Sean, they built a storage box to hold the guns and placed them in the barn. Eric and Shelley had a routine of having evening coffee on the covered porch. They had lived at the farmhouse for about a year now, and one night in 2006 they noticed a strange and pulsating light down past the tree line. At first, Sean thought it was just a poacher with a flashlight. Eric and Sean decided to head out into the field to investigate the lights. As they approached the woods, the lights went out and it was so quiet. Eric and Sean searched for a while but didn't find anything, not even a track on the ground to give them a hint of what they'd seen. One day, Chelsea's boyfriend Nathan Harth came for a visit. They decided to go for a walk in the woods with their dogs. They had the dogs on a leash but decided to let them run free. The dogs ran out ahead of them, catching a scent of something. When Chelsea and Nathan caught up, the dogs were sniffing around a large hole in the ground. Nathan thought the overly round hole had been dug with some care. Chelsea said she had a bad feeling about the whole thing and urged him to leave. Finally he agreed. On Memorial Day weekend, Shelley was making the evening coffee and they couldn't get the dogs to go outside to their pen. Eric noticed that it was really quiet on that misty evening. As Shelley and Eric were sitting on the porch drinking coffee, Eric heard an odd sound in the distance. He felt there was some sort of danger out there. Eric began to usher Shelley into the house. She protested, but soon she heard some rustling in the distance. As they looked out onto the field, they observed 5 sets of eyes looking back at them. She then realized the danger, and they rushed into the house and locked the door. Eric knew they were not bears. Whatever they were huge and dangerous. He knew the guns were in the barn, and he wasn't sure if his family was safe in the house. He wanted to somehow get to the guns, but Shelley told him to stay inside the house. Chelsea was asleep upstairs and Shelley went up to wake her. Chelsea was half awake when she looked out the window, but laid back down and went back to sleep. Shelley could see that all 5 of the creatures were still there. One stood up on its hind legs and looked right at her. She estimated it to be 7 feet tall with hair all over its body. She remembers seeing their long claws, protruding from toes that resembled canine paws, and glistening with dew. Eric had to protect his family. With the creatures in the distance, he thought that he might be able to get the family pickup backed up close enough to get them out. Even with his disability he went outside anyway. Shelley was upstairs and started closing and locking all the windows. She finally found the 2 hunting dogs hiding in a shadowed corner. She thought if the dogs were scared, she should be very concerned. When Eric reached the porch, he realized that he might have the distance to get to the truck. It was going to be the longest 20 feet of his life because of his disability. He slowly walked toward the pickup. He finally reached it and was trying to unlock the door, and then the motion sensor lights popped on. Eric was so frightened. Suddenly, he was face to face with one of the creatures. It tried to reach for him into the light, but something stopped it. It bolted off into the darkness again. Eric made for the house as quickly as he could. They decided to call the sheriff, hoping for someone else to drive in while they remained sheltered. The dispatcher didn't take them seriously and told Shelley to close the windows and lock the doors. They knew nobody was coming and they were on their own. Shelley was up in Chelsea's room looking out the window. She could see the whole farm from there. Eric was downstairs, frustrated, and upset that he didn't have his guns. Then it occurred to him that the creatures were either afraid of, or hurt by the light. That had to be why they didn't attack him. He then decided to use the light to get out to the barn and get a gun. He went back out, and flailed his arms in a desperate attempt to trigger the motion sensors. When the light finally came on, Eric realized that the eyes were staring back at him, and had him almost surrounded. Eric was now being hunted. He had his back to the porch, and was backing up slowly into the house, barely making it back in before the light went out. Shelley heard them approaching. They were on the other side of the outside wall, and if the creatures wanted in, they were going to get in. Her family was being held hostage in their own house by these creatures. They couldn't get to the guns. There weren't any police coming. What were they going to do? Grabbing every sharp implement they could find, Shelley went and woke up Chelsea. They all then went into the master bedroom and laid on top of the bed, armed, and waiting on daylight to come. When they heard the creatures outside, they were petrified. The only thing between the Martins and the creatures was the bedroom window. Finally, morning came and they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The creatures were gone. Eric called Sean, who came over and helped look for tracks. The tracks they found were huge, with enormous claws. They showed a bipedal creature who could walk on 2 feet. Were they werewolves? To this day, nobody knows. They soon moved out of the farmhouse. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you.